Welcome to the channel. It's Almighty Den, and today I'm gonna show y'all how to sway recruits to increase their chances of them committing to your school. Now, first thing you need to know is how the sway mechanism works. Now, myself, like many of you, probably have not been using it, but if you go to a smaller school, I have Middle Tennessee State right now, and they do not have a lot of exciting factors to land a lot of 5-star and 4-star recruits. So you need to sway them to the factors that you have the highest grade in. And when you don't have a lot of the time, playing time is the biggest thing you have to offer, where you can give them an A+, which I'll show y'all in this video. Another thing working against you is location. Now, while Tennessee is close to Georgia, still in the South, the pipeline is not that strong as you're competing with the University of Tennessee, combined with all the big schools in the SEC, and then obviously other schools from the ACC and the Big Ten as well that are bigger than you and whatnot. But with all that being said, you can still land 5-star and 4-star recruits. Now, if you look at my prospect list right now, you will see that none of these players that I've added to my list are initially interested in coming to MTSU. Now, of course, I always say the faster you get started, the better your chances. Now, the purpose of this video is for me to show y'all how to sway an athlete to get them to come to your school, as well as show that you can start with a player that has no interest in your school, and you can sign them whether they're a 5-star or 4-star to even a smaller school, but you have to apply the right resources to those players. And a lot of the time, the trick is you don't have enough hours. So if you really want to get a player, you have to go all in. Not only do you have to go all in, but you have to be correct on the pitch, because if you make any mistakes on the pitch, these bigger schools will pass you up. Even if they have you number one in interest, they will quickly come back and they will flop. These recruits will switch on you in a heartbeat if you mess that pitch up, especially at these smaller schools. So there is less room for error, because as you can see on the right hand side, you can see, like, I don't have a great brand. We don't have a great campus lifestyle. We're not a championship contender. It don't have a good chance of going professional. All the things that we have good grades in are baseline level things like playing time, and if they're close to Tennessee. So you have to use those things to your advantage once you gain their interest. Because you can see I'm in top 5, top 6 interest of some 5-stars. That's pretty good, to be honest, when they have no interest in you initially, because it's very easy to get that to go up just by simply sitting the house. If you sit in the house, you'll see, now look, I got a 5-star that has some interest in me. I got 3 4-stars that have me number 1. So it's not hard to get number 1. That's the thing you got to understand. It's hard to keep number 1 and get them to commit, because the longer it goes on, the more hours other schools are putting in, and they send out visits. They have better facilities. They have better brands. They have more to offer. Simply, they have more to offer than your school if you go to a smaller school. Now, if you go to a bigger school, you don't really have to sway as much. Understand? Because a lot of the time you already have a good program with a lot of good factors, and people are already going to come to your school. But if you go to a school that's not even close to a major pipeline and they're a smaller school, that's when it's going to be the most difficult to recruit, in my opinion. Because even at Kennesaw State, with Kennesaw State being in Georgia, you still had that Georgia pipeline, and players want to play in Georgia and be close to home. So that was a big factor. So you still could be closer to Florida as well. You'll still have some interest from players in Florida and Georgia just by being in Georgia. But the further you get away from Florida, Georgia, Texas, California, those big football states, the harder it gets to recruit, because you don't have that working in your favor, especially at smaller schools, because they don't have as much to offer outside of playing time and proximity to home. Now, with that being said, recruiting does come down to a bit of luck, depending on where that recruit is actually from. If you have a recruit that's from the state that your school is in, then that's going to benefit you a lot. But they're not going to generate as many if you're not close to a major pipeline. But let's just say I had a bunch of recruits from Tennessee. That would increase my chances of getting the players from Tennessee. As you can see here, I got Jalen Engo. He's a gem, as well as D. Evenson, R. Charles, and D. Virgin. I'm all at the top of their list right now, so I have a good chance. I just have to keep applying pressure and be able to get the right pitch. Now, you can even see D. Gay, a 5-star. I'm first on his interest list. I'm first. He's the most interested in coming to MTSU right now. We got a good thing to go. Now, I will say, if you do have a smaller school, the visits are going to help you out as well, especially if you're actually playing the games. I would strongly recommend scheduling the visits against the teams that give you the most influence and winning that game. Be sure that you win those games if you're gonna do that, because that could definitely help you get those 5 stars and those 4 stars for sure. And as you can see here, I'm still sitting in the house getting information on Jalen Ingold. But right now, okay, look, I want him to want to come to our school for proximity to home and playing time, because those are some of my best grades are. Now, coach prestige is solid, it's a B, but my A+ is in playing time. So I want to sway him to want to come to school for playing time and come to school for possibly proximity to home, which is somewhat close, which gives me a B, even though I don't believe Maryland is that close to Tennessee, to be honest. But playing style also gives me a B minus. So if I can get him to sway his pitch to be interested in those factors, that's what's going to help you out. And as you can see, I already have a big lead over Clemson. We're competing with Clemson, in Alabama and Penn State and Ohio State. So if we can get him to come to MTSU over Clemson, Alabama, Penn State, and Ohio State, that is a big W. We already have a good lead. But we need to make sure we don't lose any interest by trying to sell him on some things that even though we know they match, but they were not that great in. Even if they match, if we have C's and D's in those categories, he's not going to be as interested in coming to the school. Now, same thing for Demario version as well. We want to sway him to come play with us for the playing time and the proximity to home. Now, he's from Georgia, so that's relatively close to Tennessee's, right underneath Tennessee. Now we need to sway him and say, hey, come on and play for Tennessee. You know it's not far from Georgia. It's right close to home, and you're gonna get a lot of playing time. You gotta recruit. You gotta persuade these players to want to come play for the school. That's the whole point of the sway feature. I know some of us was ignoring that feature recruiting because you might play with a better school. You didn't need it, but I'm telling you, once you play for a smaller school, especially a school that's not as close to a lot of recruits, you're gonna need that feature. It's gonna go a long way because you will be able to add more interesting factors and sway them. And on top of that, if you're in an online dynasty with your friends and they don't understand how to use this feature correctly, you definitely gonna have an advantage over them because they're not gonna know better to how to use that sway feature the right way to increase the pitch. They might just say, "Hey, this pitch aligns. Let's go with it." But just because it aligns doesn't mean it's a good pitch because you might not have good grades in those reasons when it comes to the school. And that's the one thing you got to understand about the sway feature. That's what's going to take your recruiting skills to the next level. And all of this is coming from somebody who has sit here and recruited more than I've played games in Dynasty. This is coming from somebody who has got the #1 recruiting class with Florida. I've got a 5-star at Kennesaw State. I've played multiple seasons. I've developed talent. I have spent time really learning how to recruit and understanding how to use each mechanism of the recruiting system to increase your chances of getting these players. And even with that being said, you do need to know sometimes when to quit wasting your time with players. But look at Jalen Engo right there. Look at all the interests you can see now. Proximity to home, playing style, playing time. We matched those categories up. He has 5 categories of interest now that we swayed him. So we actually successfully swayed him. So now we can hard sell him on a pitch that has playing time and proximity to home and even playing style. And now we have our best chance of landing him with that pitch. We're putting our best foot forward. We're going to go ahead and schedule a visit. We're going to make it about the playing time, which he has interest in. It's an A+. So that's going to work out in our favor. So now we have our best foot forward. Now, keep in mind that you're not going to always be able to sway certain players. And it might take a little bit longer, but some players get swayed quicker. And the ones that get swayed quicker are the ones you need to focus on. Because if you're wasting time trying to sway a player sometimes, the other schools, those bigger schools, are going to be just kind of gaining interest. And you might be losing interest, and they're going to surpass you, and they're going to get those players to commit to their schools. So try not to waste too much time on certain recruits because sometimes you just get a bad batch of recruits in comparison to the school that you have. Sometimes the batch of recruits that they generate are just not in your best interest for what you have to offer. And now other times you may get a crazy draft, a recruiting class that just aligns really well, or you may have a player that's already interested in what you have, which is playing time and proximity to home. But I'm trying to get DeMario to care about playing time and proximity to home as well, because like I said, that's what we have. And he's a gem that's already very interested in the opportunity to come and play at MTSU. So we have a very good chance. Ingo, we still first on his list. So the hard sell pitch seems to be working very, very well. Make no mistake, we are in the lead over some top schools we compete with. We're competing with Clemson and Alabama, but we got all those interesting factors that he wants because we swayed him, and we got a nice little lead on him. We scheduled the visit. We got Deontay Evenson, Like I said, we haven't swayed him enough yet, but we got proximity to home and program tradition. But if we can get that playing time, we got a nice little lead on him. Look like he want to come play with us. Ronnie Charles, man, Clemson, man. Clemson is a problem for us. He isn't giving us as much information. I don't know why I haven't sent the house yet to him. That's my fault. I probably need to put that back. Probably removed it on accident. We still in first place on Demario Virgin's interest list, so that's still very good as well. So right now we got a good amount of 4 stars that have some pretty good interest that come to MTSU. So I think based on my initial selection of prospects, we have a lot of good interest on some of those players. I didn't even fill up my recruiting list. I just want to focus on a few 5 stars and some 4 stars just to show y'all the possibilities and how to use the sway feature properly. But I think this is really, really good to be honest, because obviously I could add some more 4 stars on there and get some more interest because I have hours to get it. But that's like 4 or 5 players right there that I have on the list that are actually considering committing to MTSU. And let's look at Deontay Evenson, man. Clemson's still up there again. I don't know why Clemson giving us so much of a run for our money. Like, why they coming after our players? They must think it's sweet at MTSU. If we catch Clemson, man, in that CFP, you're gonna have to take them out for that, bro, because they trying to take our players, man. They got enough players. Let MTSU get some W's, man. Let us get some gems, man. We trying to come up and build our team up. And if they keep playing with us, we're gonna hit that transfer portal on them and take some of their players at that transfer portal, because that's another good way to take advantage of the game as well. But Demario, haven't been able to sway him, so I might just have to throw that pitch to him, maybe a little soft one. But let's go ahead and advance the week. And as you can see here, Jalen Engo, the 4-star, has committed to MTSU. I swayed him. I changed his interest. I've successfully swayed him with the Jesus Shuttlesworth pitch. And we got our 4-star to come play at MTSU. Even though we didn't have the best generated class, but I go to my next week and you'll see we got another 4-star Demario Virgin to come play from Douglasville, Georgia, using the sway mechanic as well. But anyways, I just want to show y'all how to use that. If y'all enjoyed the video, y'all be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Till next time, Densky out.